Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, and welcome to your Monday Night Raw review, and I hope everyone's doing well as we are less than 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. Crazy how fast things happen, and we are no longer focusing on any other pay-per-views. There's no more pit stops. We are looking 100% now at WrestleMania, and boy, last night on Monday Night Raw, you could tell that they realized they need to fill the rest of the card quick, right? How many matches did we see announced last night? Even the last segment with the Fiend and Randy Orton, and we'll get to that. I mean, there was a match made without even a word about it being spoken. I mean, they had Alexa Bliss and the Fiend point to the WrestleMania sign, which is the... Boy, there are so many uses for pointing to the WrestleMania sign, aren't they? If you're Bianca Belair, it is the ultimate revenge, getting slapped and pushed and berated. You just point at the sign and stare at somebody, and that, is, I guess, is the ultimate revenge. Or if you just want to make a match with somebody, you just, even when they're unconscious, you just point at the sign and everyone understands what you mean. So, boy, I'll say this, I cannot wait until the WrestleMania sign is gone and they can no longer point at it. I think the WrestleMania sign gets more airtime than a lot of talent. And that's just, that's kind of sad when you think about it, that an inanimate object gets more airtime than somebody who's busted their ass to get to WWE and is just kind of sitting in catering or in locker room or wherever. And by the way, we can apparently say the BS now. I'm not going to say it on this show because we're trying to keep things PG, at least in our world. But apparently WWE just says BS. And I don't mean the letters BS. I mean the full word. And they're just doing it to do it. I know that they're doing it usually later in the show, which I don't know, after 10 o'clock, I guess, that the rating shifts and the USA is like, okay, go ahead and say it. I don't know. This is the second time that they've said it. I've never heard them say it ever, even on TV 14. When TV 14 was a thing in WWE up until 2008, they wouldn't even say that full out, right? I mean, I can't say the word here, guys, but you know what I'm talking about. They couldn't even say that. They would bleep it out. There's hell damn crap, ass, and that pretty much did it. And now they're saying the B word, which I still can kind of consider like a little more than TBPG. And now they're saying BS. I don't know why. Apparently they have redefined the terms and conditions and parameters of what TVPG is defined as. I don't have a problem with it. It's just really striking when you hear it because it's never ever said without actually an attempt to bleep it out or edit it or whatever. So anyway, beyond that, the BS by Randy Orton, which again, MVP was the first one to say a few weeks ago to, I think, Adam Pearce. But nonetheless, guys, this was a huge Monday Night Raw. If you're looking for the rest of the WrestleMania card to be shaped out and figure out, who is going to be where, I think we got a lot of answers on Monday night. I mean, how many matches were set up? Like 3, 4, maybe more. We got a lot of WrestleMania focus, as it should be. 3 weeks is not a lot of time. And I have some good and bad to talk about, as always, with the card as it shakes out. And I'm sure that we haven't gotten a final card. What I mean by that is you might have 1 or 2 more matches added, but the stipulations for matches, namely Randy Orton and The Fiend, it can't just be straight up one-on-one. Same with the Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman match. Shane even said to Braun that he can choose any kind of match he wants. We haven't got that yet. We just know that they're going to face each other. We just don't know the stipulations of those two said matches. So there is more clarification to come. But I would say we probably know 80, 85, 90% of the WrestleMania card at this point. And it doesn't really, I think, shock anybody. I think that seems to be what we thought we'd get at this point. I also appreciate that WWE gave us the card for each night of Saturday night and Sunday night. It seems as if the WWE Championship with Lashley and Drew McIntyre is going to main event night 1. And then on night 2, Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns, Edge versus Roman Reigns. I guess I'm already trying to make this a triple threat. I think it will be a triple threat. It was reported by Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer that it was going to be a triple threat. Now, is that true? We'll see. Sources can be kind of wishy-washy at times. I think Daniel Bryan will be inserted given the outcome of what happened at Fastlane. I mean, he has an argument. There's no question about it. Daniel Bryan has an argument, and I think a lot of fans would like to see him in the main event. But if you're a big one-on-one fan like I am, then you may be a little bit annoyed by this. I'm not a triple threat guy whatsoever. So, especially for a main event of WrestleMania. But I think Daniel Bryan's there to take the pinfall from Edge, who's going to win the championship, but it's going to be protecting Roman Reigns while being able to give the belt to Edge, and you're getting the best of both worlds, even if there is that big downside of a triple threat match. Now, it is no DQ by default, which is still stupid to me that every triple threat has to be no DQ. There is no good reason for it. It doesn't make sense. But that means and does leave open the possibility of interference. You know, I mean, we'll speculate as we get closer. I mean, the triple threat isn't even WWE official yet, but it seems as if the way that they're going, and we'll find out in just a few nights on SmackDown this coming Friday. So, guys, like I said, a lot of content to get to tonight as we are going to be just exploding with news, I'm sure, over the next few weeks. The biggest pay-per-view of the entire year if you're a wrestling fan. Love it or hate it, this year is, I think, going to be better than last year. I know that the card may not be impressive to some people, but you know who's back? The biggest superstar that has ever existed. That's you guys. That's the WWE fans. Notice I said fans and not universe. Doesn't that just sound so much better? Not like I'm trying to put a cute label on you. The WWE fans will be at the arena in Raymond James Stadium. In the stadium, there's not an arena. They will be there live. That is, to me, the biggest and most exciting news out of the entire pay-per-view. Now, I'm very curious, given that 25,000 people is a lot. It's a lot. But a stadium that holds, 3 times that, and if it's an open-air stadium, which I believe it is, the sound escapes. Now, can 25,000 people still make a lot of noise? Yes. But will it be muted given the total capacity and the open air? Now, somebody correct me if it is not open air, but I'm going to assume it's open air and not a covered stadium. I think that given if it's an open air stadium and there's a limited capacity, that a lot of noise will escape and you won't hear the full brunt of the WWE fans. And WWE I'm going to be careful, and you better be careful listening too, guys, for WWE still trying to pump in a little crowd noise. They've done it before. I mean, they did it on SmackDowns every time that they didn't get a reaction that they wanted. They'd mute the boos for Roman and kind of pump up the cheers a little, and you heard it. So I'll be interested to hear if they try to control the uncontrollable of WWE voices, if it doesn't align with what they want. And what they've put the stars in line on the card for. I'm very interested, so we'll have to listen out for that. But anyway, welcome to the WWE podcast. Really long open there, but thank you for taking the time to listen to us day or night. I know that your time is precious, and that you have a lot of options when it comes to wrestling podcasts. Certainly a very crowded field. We are struggling to stay in the top 50 as more and more podcasts just try to shove themselves in line here, but we're going to fight the good fight, and we're going to not only maintain, but I think we're going to climb a lot higher in 2021, maybe into the top 30. That's, I think, a reasonable goal, and ultimately into the top 10. I think that's where we will land ultimately, is in the top 10. Not easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we need your support. If you'd like us to ascend in the ratings and you are fans of the show, then help us out. Simple way is subscribe. Click the subscribe button. Tell a friend. And also give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It does help out the show a lot. I promise you, if you give us a 5-star rating and review, it does. If you hate us and you're like, oh, man, you guys are so annoying, well, then you can still give us a review. right? I mean, it does help us. People think that, if they give us a negative review, it's going to hurt the show. Actually, it does help the show. So those of you that have a malicious intent behind your reviews, I think you will be sadly mistaken about your results, about how you affect the show. Anyway, we encourage you to help the show by giving us a 5-star rating. And if you don't want ads and plugs, easy way, head on over to Patreon and subscribe there. For $1, you get the entire podcast library ad-free. All of our shows, no ads, for $1. Plus, you get a shout out on the show, and you get to get priority support, priority positioning. Why do I always say priority support? I said that last time. You get priority positioning on the mailbag show that is recorded on Wednesday. So tomorrow night, I do have some questions that have come my way in the my inbox from my patrons. They will be answered first. So a little bit of a perk to give you guys a little bit of information anyway on joining us on Patreon. You download the Patreon app, and it's as simple as that. Listening there is super easy. So, okay, let's get back to Monday Night Raw. And let's talk about, let's see here, I see a whole bunch of just stuff that I'm scared about talking about, to be honest with you. Let's start with the end. I'm going to start with the end. I'll start with something I kind of mixed feelings about. So, first of all, let me say, the Fiend's look, I hate to jump on the bandwagon, and I want to just be different to be different, but I love the Fiend's look like most people. It's not an interesting take, but I do enjoy what he looks like. It makes sense that he has kind of the melted, burns, quote, skin. It makes me wonder how he's going to wrestle. I would think that has been thought through, that it's not just a movie costume, that he can't really have much mobility and the thing might fall off or his mask fall off. I mean, imagine. So I would think that has been taken into consideration. Yes, he's hit a couple of Sister Abigails, but he has yet to do a full-on match. Now, obviously, he just re-debuted. He was rebirthed, so we haven't had the opportunity yet, but I'm very curious about that, about the durability of that costume, given all the moves and twists, and it's got to be very flexible and breathable. I've hoped that they have been smart enough to think about that and not just go, cool, what is the coolest kind of movie quality outfit and horror film genre type of style that we can put out there. I mean, that's important, but it also has to be feasible. And I don't know how it's going to do in a match. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and think that it's going to be fine. Anyway, that's not really what happened here on Monday night, just my internal thoughts. We had Randy come out and say he's going to put an end to The Fiend. He's going to put an end to Alexa Bliss. And then, again, I'm loving The Fiend's look. I love Randy's intensity, which, by the way, if you haven't seen him on the Broken Skull sessions on the WWE Network, which is now on Peacock, go check it out. It's really insightful into Randy's past, his demons, his successes, his failures, everything. So check that out. But beyond that, guys, we get Randy Orton in a promo telling us he's going to end both of them tonight, which, when that's an empty promise that he's not going to be able to keep because we have WrestleMania. And we're all supposed to believe apparently he's just going to commit, first-degree murder on air. I don't know. So Alexa comes out and she says, "Oh, Randy, Randy, Randy." And she does this Jack in the Box. And when the Jack in the Box pops, we get The Fiend. And The Fiend is introduced with ring posts of fire, kind of taken from Kane's gimmick, but I'll let it fly. It's fine. I mean, Kane's been not really a main star for many years now, so I'm cool with it. If he wants to do with the fire thing, that's fine. And he appears, and Randy is perplexed. And, I don't know why people don't just look behind them, right? Just look behind you. Or somebody stand in the ring corner. Stand in the corner of the ring. Then they can't be behind you unless they're on the ring apron. They can pull at your legs. But I'd rather have that than stand in the middle of the ring and wonder where somebody is and knowing that they're behind you. Anyway, the Fiend appears, and Randy hesitantly grabs what's in his bag, which is a can of gasoline. And the Fiend stands there as Randy is pouring the gasoline on the Fiend, grabs the match. Alexa Bliss stands on the apron, and she stands on the apron, and Randy doesn't do anything. Now, after... I'm sorry. He hit the Fiend with an RKO because he was just about to light the matches and throw it on the Fiend to light him on fire again. Because he thinks, apparently that's what's going to end the Fiend, is a second time being lit on fire. But no, we just have Randy hit him with an RKO, and Alexa gets on the ring apron. And this is where Randy, again, you light a guy on fire and he comes back. And you think an RKO is going to keep him down for more than a few seconds. It's a little, I hate to say unbelievable because, pro wrestling in general, when you look at it, is not believable as a whole, but that's what makes great storylines great. This is Randy Orton just kind of being a little dumb, but he hits an RKO on the Fiend, who just lays there in the gasoline. And then, again, Alexa Bliss, Randy could have taken her out. If he's so adamant about it, she threw fireballs at him. She tried to blind him. She tried to kill him by bringing down scaffolding the night before. And yet he just stands there and stares at her maliciously. All this talk, and Randy just stands there with the, 10 seconds he was given to get his hands on Alexa Bliss. And I understand people are saying, oh, it's PG. I understand that too. And there is that limiting factor. But it's a little frustrating when Randy is basically trying, avoiding murder, avoiding, having his life ended by Alexa Bliss on a weekly basis, making him throw up black tar and things like that. And then he just doesn't take advantage of the opportunity. It didn't make sense. But the Fiend gets up and hits him with Sister Abigail as both of them point to the WrestleMania sign. And then we immediately get an announcement that it's going to be Randy Orton versus The Fiend at WrestleMania. Well, did Randy agree to this? There's no contract signing? I'm a little bit perplexed. How did that happen? You talk about trying to rush to get things on a card. It was like, well, shouldn't there be mutual consent? Who signed off on this? I don't know. But they'll never explain it. It's just implied. You point at the sign. It can mean many different things, as I said at the top of the show. So I can't wait till we can stop pointing at that effing sign. Okay, let's see what else. What did I like? Ooh, here's one thing I did like, because I want to. You notice I'm kind of front loading the things I did like here, because I've got some things on the back end that I have some strong opinions on. Okay, Asuka versus Peyton Royce. I really like this match. This was probably no. It was Peyton Royce's career-defining match. Now, is it a Hall of Fame match? Is it a match that we will remember for ages and tell our children about? And it'll be just brought down generation to generation? No, it's not. Of course it's not. But for Peyton Royce's career, when you look at her body of work and what she's done over the last several years, being in the Iconics, being disbanded, still one of the dumbest decisions in wrestling probably in the last 5 years, seriously, given what that tag team was, and I thought I could have done. But with this match, I really liked it. And Peyton Royce did come to play. She came and gave everything that she had into this match. And she was prepared. They made her look very good. They made her feel like she could win the match. She wasn't sloppy. Now, is she at the ultra level of some of the top women? Probably not. But she's way better than I think most of us gave her credit for prior to this match. She did a really nice job. That was a pay-per-view quality match. And I'm being for real, not being a jerk about it. I'm being serious. So kudos to Peyton Royce. Kudos to Asuka, as always, who makes everyone look great, and she's just at another level all the time. But Peyton Royce really came to show out, and she did. And it was really cool to see. And yes, Asuka won with the submission. Peyton Royce did tap, but it wasn't easy. It was a hard-fought victory. And I hope that this is able to do something for Peyton Royce's career, something as a launching point. I'm not saying she needs to be women's champion right now, but it's something to build on. That's what she's needed. Right now, for her, it's been quicksand, and now she's got a boulder to step on to build something with. That is what I looked at this match, or how I looked at it. So, but the bigger news, and I hate to overshadow it, but it kind of was with Rhea Ripley debuting as a member of Raw. Now, how it was decided that she was coming to Raw, what did SmackDown bid for her and lose? Yeah, I mean, those things that are never discussed. I mean, if this was a real competitive sport that we're all supposed to believe because they have drafts, I would, and I was a fan of SmackDown, I'd be like, well, whoa. How did this happen? Did SmackDown just completely, just completely drop the ball? What happened? But they're never going to explain it. It just shows you that Vince still looks at Raw as his baby and will forever be his baby. So, SmackDown, I don't care what they do, will always seem like the B show. And it may not be the B show in terms of quality, wrestling match quality, characters, storylines going on, but the brand of SmackDown will always feel, as a fan, it will always feel second rate. It just will. So, anyway, we got Rhea Ripley coming out, and she challenged Asuka to a match at WrestleMania. And Rhea Ripley stood there, and Asuka said a bunch of weird Japanese words that she always does, and said the few English words that she does say clearly, which are "You are not ready for Asuka," and that's what she said. So, and then she accepted. So apparently, that's all you need to do to get into a main event of WrestleMania is just come out and challenge somebody and say, "I want you at WrestleMania," and they're just going to be like, "Yep, no problem, gotcha." So here's the one thing I know some fans are probably thinking is, well, where the hell's Charlotte? Well, it was revealed by Rhea Ripley that she said that COVID struck Charlotte. So Charlotte has COVID-19, coronavirus. That would tell me, though, that she will be back in time for WrestleMania, even if she caught COVID that night. That means we still have 3 weeks of WrestleMania, and typical quarantine's 2 weeks. So she could, in theory, at the worst, be back for 1 week build to WrestleMania. Why do I feel like they're going to make this a triple threat? Why do I just have that feeling? Is that a terrible thing? I don't think it's as egregiously awful of a decision as it was to put her into the main event of 35 with Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. I mean, that was egregiously, just got to get Charlotte in the main event to say that she was part of the first ever female main event of WrestleMania. There's no other reason for that match for it to happen, and her becoming SmackDown Women's Champion 2 weeks before. I say that all the time. It's one of the most egregious decisions and forcefully done storylines I've ever seen, with Charlotte just having to be part of it so she could say she was. That's it. This year, if this happens and we get all of a sudden Charlotte injects herself next week or the week after, I won't be as angry, because Charlotte hasn't been as annoying lately, even in a babyface role, kind of a quasi babyface role. I'm more accepting of what she has done over the last several weeks and months, telling her dad to go home and ending that storyline, hopefully forever. But I'm okay with it, because I know what Charlotte's capable of. I know what Asuka's capable of, and I know what Rhea Ripley's capable of, and that would be just a ball buster of a main event for the women. There could be a lot of multi-person matches, and I just said that I'm not a fan typically. This one may make sense for me, and it could end up being Rhea Ripley pinning Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship, which is, again, the Forgotten Championship, and then after she loses it, after Asuka drops it, it could be just Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte over the next several months post-WrestleMania. So, just my thoughts. If it is one-on-one, I'm cool with it too. I think Rhea Ripley is, ultra talented. It's like a different Rhea Ripley from last year than when she faced Charlotte. It feels like a totally, totally different person, and that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I feel like she was a little bit of fish out of water last year, and this year it's like she's put it all together and knows who she is, what she is, and it bleeds through. Great music, great look. Great stature. I've really got nothing bad to say about Rhea Ripley at all. Nothing. And I think we can all say that, can we please make the Raw Women's Championship relevant? This is the first time it's been relevant in about 6 months. Since, for what the heck, well, I don't even know when they last defended it. It might have been, SummerSlam? Something sad like that. It's been crazy, crazy stupid how much they have ignored the Raw Women's Championship, and there's no excuse, none. I don't want to hear any of the excuses from WWE at all. You know, you can find talent to work with, even if you have no intention of giving the belt to them. It is about building new talent, and if you wanted Asuka to keep the championship till Mania to face Rhea Ripley, that's fine, but at least have the illusion that she's defending it somewhat regularly, you know, for all the talk about, you know, baby faces have to be defending champions. Asuka, boy, you talk about egregiously hiding the championship on her. Oof. I think even, and I tweeted this out, which you can follow me on Twitter at wrestling_audio, by the way, that Tom Phillips said that, you know, over the last several months, we've seen the toughness of Asuka, and they only replay one clip. That clip is her getting kicked in the face by Shayna Baszler knocking out her tooth. That's it. So how does that make her tough again? She was out for like 3 weeks. That doesn't make her tough. That makes her unlucky. That makes her a victim of an accident. That doesn't make her tough. Okay, she was out for 3 weeks. I mean, so I don't know how that makes her tough. Furthermore, when you say the last several months, I guess I must have missed it with all of the championship defenses that she was going through to really sit and think about her toughness there, Tom Phillips. Oh my God. That was a stupid statement. I mean, just, all right. Anyway, let's move on here. Let's see. Oh, Bobby Lashley defeats Sheamus via submission. Hard hitting. It was exactly what you thought it would be. And man, oh man, can you imagine the feeling of being in Sheamus's body just 24 hours removed from that brutal match with Drew McIntyre to go through Bobby Lashley? I mean, he wasn't limping. There was no signs other than a couple of marks on his body. But man, kudos to Sheamus for going out there and doing what he does. I know that the Botch Guy on YouTube, by the way, go follow us if you haven't already, or go follow him on YouTube, the Botch Guy. We did a full, huge review on Fastlane that took place on Sunday night. So go listen to that if you haven't already. But this was very hard hitting, and Lashley made Sheamus tap. That was interesting. He did it clean. Yes, Shelton Benjamin and Alexander got themselves involved, but you would assume that the outcome is probably going to be Lashley winning anyway. And Lashley was annoyed by the assistance, the unasked for assistance by Alexander and Benjamin. So, okay. All right. Drew McIntyre then defeated Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin in a handicap match because Lashley said, "You better make it up to me." And this is how they make it up to him, with the stipulation being if Drew wins, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin are barred from ringside at WrestleMania. Well, isn't that what Lashley just got mad at you for? So wouldn't he want you to lose that match? If I'm Bobby Lashley and I'm mad at Alexander and Shelton for coming out to help me when it wasn't warranted or asked for, and then they tell me that the way they're going to make it up to me is that they're going to go challenge Drew, and if they lose, then they're not going to be at the match ringside at WrestleMania. I would say, okay, then go lose the match, because that's what pissed me off in the first place. It was weird, right? But Drew wins very convincingly, as they both are going to steamroll themselves into WrestleMania. I mean, they're just going to be unstoppable, and it's going to be a really, 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 really fun clash. I got to say that. Something that's not so fun is, good Lord, Braun Strowman defeating Elias again. Now, Shane McMahon came out, and he's on crutches, and they sang a song. Elias and him sang a song, which was actually mildly entertaining. The lyrics were well done, whoever came up with those. And it's all based around Shane thinking Braun is stupid for Braun. I guess that's the joke. But did Shane ever explain why he thinks Braun's stupid? Does he have any examples? Or are we just going with the schoolyard, my dad's bigger than your dad, my dad could beat up your dad? Are we really at that level? That's what this feels like. Shane McMahon in his 50s Braun Strowman, a grown man. And one's getting mad at the other and having a big fight over, you're stupid. This is unbelievably thin. Probably the weakest beginning to any program I've ever seen, specifically for WrestleMania. It's unbelievable. It's almost as if the guys and gals sat in the boardroom or on Zoom or wherever the hell they held their production meetings. And they're like, guys, look, we want to get to Sheamus and Braun at WrestleMania. Does anybody have anything? And there's crickets, right? And they're like, I don't know. And Vince is like, damn it, somebody give me something. This is stupid. And somebody said to Vince, that's it. That's it. Let's have Shane call Braun stupid. And Vince is like, I like it. That's what this feels like. It feels like they had nothing else, and they just went with this. It's the most basic, ridiculous story, or at least beginning to one. And again, there's no examples as to why Shane thinks Braun's stupid. It's just because he's called Braun and no brains, right? Is that it? Are we going to play that on words? Good Lord. Whatever. But Braun Strowman defeats Elias again, and Shane McMahon hits Strowman with his crutch, which bent the crutch but had no effect on Braun. Shane then ran down the ramp, and Strowman noticed, obviously, that his knee wasn't hurt, that Shane's knee wasn't hurt, and then that's where Braun challenged Shane to a match at WrestleMania, and McMahon said he'll accept for any match Strowman wants. So it'll be interesting to hear what the stipulation is for that. You would assume it would be maybe a steel cage, or I don't even know. I mean, a steel cage sounds right, I guess. I don't know. I do want to see Shane get beat up. So there is that. I don't hate the match on its face. I just don't like how it was developed in a very, very, very sophomoric way. But the only other thing I have to say about this, and I really am trying to suppress the 4-letter words in my mind. Did anyone else hear the sound effect of the train when he was doing his ridiculous running around the ring and shoulder tackling people? Did anyone else hear this? I have never heard in the middle of a match. I've heard it during entrances, during video packages that are put together beforehand. I've never heard during a match WWE intentionally inputting sound effects into a match. I've never, in all my years, I've never heard it. It was embarrassing. Why? Now, I understand that they needed to probably move on from the Monster Among Men because they beat that to death. And they're like, guys, we got to kind of evolve. Let's think of something different for Braun. What is he? And somebody probably came up with a locomotive, and he's the Strowman Express, damn it. I mean, it sounds so Vince, doesn't it? It just feels Vince. Every time, I don't know what it is. It just feels like it's Vince who feels like this is probably the coolest thing that he has right now is Braun Strowman being a locomotive. Or at least representing one, or pretending to be one. I don't know. I mean, can we just put a Thomas the Tank Engine on next time? Can we do that? I mean, I don't know. It is ridiculous. But that inputted sound effect was the worst, and it's embarrassing. And I didn't even like the move before he got this inputted in, like the whole sound effect thing. That move to me is silly that he has to run around the whole ring. By the way, it's not a straight line. I could see if it was like a straight line. If it was a straight line, then I could see where you pick up more speed. But you're running around 4 corners. That slows your speed down. I mean, you're not getting any faster or more momentum every single time that you're running around the ring. You're actually, you will max out. I don't know. I'm getting a little bit too technical on this. It was just stupid. And how about that for a pun on this whole match? Okay. All right, what else did I like? The Miz versus Jeff Hardy. Now, I will say this. First of all, the match against Jeff Hardy, you knew the Miz was going to win. Jeff Hardy is really a glorified Legends enhancement talent at this point. I don't think we've heard from Jeff Hardy up until this week, telling Miz that if he, wants to be a man and he thinks he can beat me one-on-one, you can beat me one-on-one, you'll tell Morrison to go to the back. And then Morrison obviously obliges, or Miz obliges, tells Morrison to go to the back. And Miz does end up beating Hardy clean. I liked it. And yes, Bad Bunny got his shot in with the guitar. A nice shot. I'm going to give him that. And it was not that it takes a whole lot of talent to swing a guitar at someone's back. But it was nicely done. And Miz went down, and Bad Bunny accepted Miz's challenge to WrestleMania. So we get a Bad Bunny versus Miz at WrestleMania. Again, this match also doesn't have a stipulation yet. I would think that this match will. So far, we've got 3 matches announced. Bad Bunny versus Miz, that should have a stipulation and probably will. We've got Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon, no stipulation, but they're almost guaranteed will be. And the same for Randy Orton and The Fiend, no stipulation yet. It's just, here's where we're going, here's the matches, we just don't have the details. So that's fine, I don't need everything now, but expect a lot of stipulation matches at WrestleMania. Okay, but what I want to talk about here is not even that segment, which we all knew we were going to get some kind of involvement with Bad Bunny. Now, I feel weird saying this because I have been so anti-Miz over the last, my God, I don't even know how long now, since he's been with Morrison. And I stand by every single word that I've said. I don't backtrack on anything that I've said about The Miz. None. So I want to make that very clear. However, if you're going to make me choose between the worst possible selection of a superstar for somebody that I really don't care about and I've been complaining about for the last several months, it feels like years now, versus a celebrity that I don't give 2 damns about. I could care less about his music career. I'm not here to listen to his music. I can go, if you are interested in his music, you can go to Spotify or wherever, Apple Music, and listen to his music. I don't need a celebrity coming in to embarrass the talent that are here on a weekly basis and shine up the celebrity like $1 million to make the wrestlers look like fools, which is what's happening almost every single time that you bring in a celebrity. I've gone over this. But my point is, The Miz brought up some excellent points. For all the stupid, correct, all that stuff that still is some of the worst stuff I've ever seen. Not heel heat, okay, not heat magnets, just I feel embarrassed as a fan watching. I've said this before, I feel embarrassed watching. I feel as if somebody was watching me do this, they'd think less of me. Like if somebody's watching me watch wrestling at that moment, I would feel like less of a person. Does that make sense to somebody? If you have a friend over and they're watching you watch this, and it would just be so embarrassing. But anyway, so The Miz brought up some good points. Number 1, that Bad Bunny is basically got a gun for hire in Damian Priest. He's got a bouncer, I think is how we referred to him. That's true. That is true, and it's not babyface to me. That's a heel move. I don't honestly know how Bad Bunny's even a babyface at all. I mean, I'm listening to the pumped-in crowd noise, and they're still giving him cheers. So that tells me they're trying to position him as a babyface, which is just... I want to hear the crowd reaction to that. Number 2, they have Bad Bunny on the WrestleMania poster. What? And I agree with Miz on this. I don't even believe I've ever put those words together. I agree with Miz. Whoa. That Bad Bunny on the WrestleMania poster is patently ridiculous. On its face, it's ridiculous. Now, if you're WWE and you're trying to put the biggest stars on your poster and get the most eyeballs, I understand why from a marketing perspective you do this, because some people may look at it and go, whoa. Is that Bad Bunny? What's he doing at WrestleMania? Let's check it out. I'm sure there are some people that do that. However, I think the majority of it is fans just going and sighing every time they see it and go, another celebrity that's going to come in and make the wrestlers look like fools and take a minimal amount of bumps. And that's exactly what Bad Bunny's going to do, because he's probably the weight of my laptop. I mean, my laptop that's in front of me is probably a good percentage of his weight. Bad Bunny doesn't look like a wrestling star. He doesn't feel like one. His shoes that he wore. If anybody check out his shoes that he wore on Raw. They look like clown shoes. That's how big they were. And I don't know, that's a style, whatever. They look like clown shoes. I don't mean like the oversized, like Reeboks or something. That's just a style that rappers wear. Those are just fine. I'm talking like they look like a size 20 when he has a size 6. It looked ridiculous. I hope he ends up getting his ass whipped at WrestleMania. I would drain my bank account to have Stone Cold Steve Austin come out, drop him with a stunner, a legit stunner, and then just drink beer and pour it all over him. That's what I would. That's what in my fantasy world would happen. But so I actually want The Miz to win. I want The Miz to tear this guy up. It's not going to happen because he's a celebrity and we have to treat him with kid gloves and you have to make sure that he's handled with care. And, he basically has a big fragile sign on his head. Make sure, be careful with me, handle me gently. He wore a baggy sweatshirt to take a guitar shot last week. Don't forget that. He didn't wear that baggy sweatshirt by accident. All right. Okay. AJ Styles defeats Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston defeats AJ Styles via pinfall with the SOS. Before the match, the New Day riled up Styles by trying to convince Omos to not team with him at WrestleMania. Obviously, that's not going to happen. This was not on Hulu. This is just via I see some pictures and some text. That's where I got that from. But Omos, it's going to be interesting to see him in the ring, his in-ring debut. I feel like he's going to be very limited. I'll be very surprised if he's not. He's got a great presence. I'm a big Omos fan. I think he's got a little bit of comedy in him, which is not bad if it's supposed to be an entertaining team. I actually would look at this as AJ Styles and Omos as a babyface team because the New Day have been champions to the point where people are going to turn on them. People don't want to see New Day as champions anymore. I think the majority don't. What does this prove now? Are we just trying to up the count of times that they're champion? Is that what we're trying to do? I don't know. Silly. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeat Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose via pinfall. So this also was not on Hulu, so I'm reading this. But when Jax hit Brooke with a Samoan drop, Reginald was ringside and helped provide distractions that aided the women's tag team champions to earn the win. So Reginald continues to pay dividends, and any hopes that Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose had of potentially getting themselves involved in the discussion for the women's tag team championships have probably been drowned out. Maybe they'll be involved in a multi-team match at WrestleMania for the women's tag belts. But right now, I think that kind of says what it needs to say. That even in a non-title match, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose can't catch a pinfall. They couldn't fall into a pinfall. If it hit them in the face, they wouldn't be able to get one. Oh, I guess The Miz and Morrison are going to be debuting a full-length music video next week. What I saw from part of it last night on Raw, or really tonight for me on Raw. I know I watch it on Tuesdays, which is why I don't tweet throughout the show. But it wasn't terrible. It's kind of as bad as you'd expect, but some of the content, some of the lines are funny. So the only thing saving this whole thing is the writing and for some of the insults. That's it. Okay. Let's see. What else am I missing? Oh, God. Do I dare touch this? Sheamus and Riddle. So Sheamus is interviewed backstage from one of the newest colleagues. Forgive me, I don't know his name, but I like him so far. But he was basically asking Sheamus, about Drew McIntyre and how Drew came to his aid. And Sheamus said it was out of respect regarding the Hurt Business when Drew McIntyre kind of saved him. But he ends up also getting interrupted by Riddle. Sheamus gets interrupted by Riddle, who's on a scooter with a championship belt he's wearing like a sash. And he's circling around Drew McIntyre, asking about seeing the Loch Ness Monster, if he's been to Drew McIntyre's house. I mean, just asking these random questions in succession with no break. Can somebody please, I am asking someone out there who is a Matt Riddle fan, from a personality perspective, I think we can all agree in ring he's really good. That's not what is up for debate here or discussion. In ring is a separate issue of which I think we're all riding the same ship on that we are all fans of him in ring. So I'm putting that completely aside. I don't want to hear any arguments about his in ring. We all agree it's really good. We're talking about his personality. His personality that is borderline diagnosable. I mean, somebody could put him on the spectrum, I think, for what they're portraying. He's part frat boy, part pothead, part 10-year-old boy. I don't know where Matt Riddle is. I'm finding him completely disconnected from me caring about his character. He's obnoxious. He's not endearing. I have no connection with him whatsoever on a personality perspective. Again, which is to me more important than in ring. Because in ring, you can learn the steps. You can learn the moves. Not easy, but there's a process. The personality perspective, your gimmick, what you are on camera is not always easy to teach because it doesn't come from a lesson. It doesn't come from a trainer in a ring that says, oh, no, this is how you do an arm bar, not that way. This is how you do it safe. This is, here's how you take a hip toss, a back body drop. Those things can be worked on because there's a formula and a way to do things that is the same for everyone. Generally speaking, how to stay safe, how to do this move, how to do, in-ring psychology, that kind of thing. Personality comes from within. That to me is more important, and that's what makes people care about those moves that you do in ring. That's what makes people invested in your character or not. We've seen really good workers come and go because they have no personality, men and women. So with Matt Riddle, this guy is just a combination of a bunch of like the worst kinds of people. It's really like taking the most annoying people in society and taking like slices of those personalities, dumping them into Matt Riddle's head, and then presenting them on air. He almost sounded like a kid, who again, an 8 to 10-year-old kid that's in a car with his family, and he's asking his mom and dad, they're on their way to vacation, saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? How big is that sign? What time are we getting there? Can I have some lunch?" All these things. It's like one thing after another. He felt like that annoying kid in the car. He also has that just obnoxious frat boy kind of whatever, man, everything's chill, just D-bag personality to him. So there's that part of it. Then there's the kind of spaced out, relaxed pothead version that's like you could just imagine him sitting in a lawn chair in his backyard smoking and looking up at the stars, and one of his friends is with him saying like, so do you think we're like alone in the universe, man? Like we can't be all that's out there. It feels kind of like that too. It's the worst personality traits combined into one. I don't even know what, like, this is not funny. It's not entertaining. He's kind of up there with The Miz with me right now. And that's hard to do with The Miz and Morrison. I mean, at least with The Miz and Morrison, you know what you're going to get, right? Like you know that they're trying to be a comedy act. That's a heel heat team, but they're really not. They're just stupid and embarrassing. Matt Riddle is, what makes it worse is he's also miscast. Like with Miz and Morrison, at least they're booked as heels. They're channel changing heels, but they're heels. So they're booked correctly. Riddle is booked as a babyface, but yet has all these annoying heel personality traits that Vince doesn't see and thinks they're endearing and funny and relatable, of which zero of those things are true. So I'm challenging anybody out there. Please enlighten me as to exactly why Matt Riddle to you, from a personality, character perspective, is appealing to you. Email me at realwwepodcast@gmail.com. Call us at 518-952-0247. Smoke signal me. I don't care. I don't care what you got to do. I'm not trying to put anybody down that enjoys him. If you do, Godspeed. I mean, more power to you. I'm just wondering if anybody out there has a legitimate argument as to why we're supposed to cheer for this guy. Please. And then you throw the scandals on top of it that he's been accused of, and he publicly admitted he cheated on his wife, of which, yeah, okay, fine. You know, he got caught doing that. At the same time, you could argue, well, how many other wrestlers did that weren't caught? I would say a large percent, sadly, probably. I mean, over the years, it kind of goes with the territory. You're on the road. You don't see your family much. It's a job that kind of lends itself to that type of activity, shall we say. So anyway, I really want to talk to somebody who's and hear from them from a real perspective. I'm not trying to shame anybody. You like who you like. I just want to know, maybe I'm missing something from Matt Riddle. I don't know what it is. Maybe next week I'll go, oh, that's what it is. Maybe I should just start smoking pot while I'm watching him, and then I'll go, oh, I get it, man. Tubular, right? I mean, like, I don't know. I can't believe I just said tubular on the show. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this Monday Night Raw review. I hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow's a dual show with the Wrestling Nostalgia and your mailbag portion. So get your questions in, realwwepodcast@gmail.com, or call us at 518-952-0247. Leave a voicemail, 3 minutes or less. We'll get you on the show. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Patreon. For $1, you get no ads in any of our shows, access to the entire library, and priority positioning in the mailbag, where your questions are answered right up front at the beginning of the show. So pretty good deal, guys. Thank you, as always. Give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Google or wherever you can. It does help us out a whole lot. Also, one last thing. If you do any shopping on Amazon, I know you do, I do a ton of it. Go to our website first, and WWEpodcast.com. Go to the middle of the page. There's a banner there. Click on the banner. It directs you to Amazon, but it kicks back whatever you buy, a little bit of whatever you buy, to the show. Just supports us, doesn't cost anything extra. It's just a way to tell Amazon that we sent you, and Amazon says, hey, thanks for sending them. Here's a little bit, right? So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for listening. As always, I'll talk to you next time.